Weston. I'm head of research here at Pepperstone, and I'm going to be joined in a second with Thomas. Hello, welcome to the program, Thomas. How are you going, mate? You well?
Really well, thanks, Chris. And we've got an exciting topic here today to discuss some of the favorite things that we like to do in a platform called TradingView. So I'm really excited to go through it.
Yeah, good stuff. Look, I mean, it is exciting, as Thomas said. There, it's been in the works for quite some time. There's obviously been lots of requests from clients for using TradingView, and I think the great thing is now we have launched TradingView to clients, and this just complements the suite of market of trading platforms that we've got now. Some of the world-class platforms such as MT4, MT5, and CTrader, and we're adding TradingView to the bow as well. So there's a lot of people who find great utility in MetaTrader. It's still the most popular trading platform in the world. But there's still a lot of people who use TradingView, and now we're putting our pricing in there and are able for clients to be able to trade on the charts and using Pepperstone's pricing and superior liquidity in there to be able to actually execute trades directly into through TradingView and into Pepperstone's back end. So obviously very exciting times. And so I think it just gives people choice, the ability to transact on whatever platform they want, whether it's TradingView, the MetaTrader platforms, or CTrader as well. So yeah, really, really good. Obviously there's a lot of people who are part of the TradingView community. They're looking at ideas, sourcing inspiration, and then using charts there as well. So this is a big development. It's something that's been in the works for a while, and we're really excited about the offering that we've got there. So yeah, I mean, I think that the interesting thing here, Thomas, is that I use TradingView. I know that you guys at FX Evolution have been big users of TradingView for a while. So I mean, there's a reason for that, and it's one of the best trading platforms out there, right?
Yeah, it's a really great platform. It's very robust. It has a lot of different offerings, and when you start to really break down some of the tools that it offers, it may be the right fit for you. And I think that's really important. We'll just get started with the show here. We've got a quick risk warning, just of course, for today's live stream, and then we'll get right into it. So just bear with us and have a quick look at this one. Okay. All right. Well, cool. Chris, do you want to take it away? I think you're ready to show everyone the goods.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably probably the best place to start, of course, before we start going into some of the finite things. And of course, if you're new to TradingView, there's going to be some bits that Tom and I are going to share, which gets you pretty excited about using the platform. And also, if you are a seasoned pro, if you're a stalwart, there might be some bits and pieces that you may have missed and add some value. So I don't think it's not really going to be agnostic on experience levels. Now, the first thing I think is probably the best thing is really, how do you get set up if you to get up with a Pepperstone account? The first thing you'll need to do is go to the secure client area, and you'll need to go to the application area and apply it for a Pepperstone TradingView account. Now, obviously, you need a Pepperstone account in the first place to be able to do that. But once you've gone through the quick process of applying for account and being verified, and you have money in the account, then you can go to the secure client area, which will be a link that you're provided. And within there's an application area. You can just apply for what would I say, a TradingView account. Once you've got that, what you'll then do, once that's all set up, once you've got the TradingView account, and there's also a demo account that you can get in there as well. So do go into the secure client area. When you're in there, now once that's all set up, you would go to your TradingView platform. Hopefully you can see that, and you've got these 5 panels at the bottom. The one you want to go to then is trading panel, and you can see a list of other brokers who are in there at the moment. You can see Pepperstone there, the nice blue number. You can see our rating, 4.65, one of the best ratings there. And then you just simply press the connect button. Now, because I've actually logged in before on this account, it's already linked. But what you would do then is it would take you through back to the secure client area. You can choose which account you want it linked to, whether it's the demo account or the TradingView account. Really simple. You just press a button, press connect, and then you're connected, and it will sync and effectively sing between Pepperstone's backend and TradingView. And you can see here, this is what mine now looks like. I've got this set up to a demo account that I've got for 50 grand, and these are my 2 live accounts that I've got at the moment. So very, very simple. And what will happen now is when I go and transact on this, it will just pass through very, very seamlessly and extremely fast into the Pepperstone back end there, and obviously everything's going to be monitored real time. So it's as simple as that. Yeah, just go into secure client area, get the account set up, and then just link the two in this button. Really, literally, the process takes minutes. It's very, very quick and very simple to do, and I can do it. And if I can do it, then you guys can do it as well. Anyway, so that's where we are at the moment. I've got this demo account linked up with 50k of hypothetical money. So if we place any trades today, it's going to be on the demo account. So well, let's go from there.
Got a question coming in here, Chris. Just is this session recorded? Absolutely. It's live here on YouTube, so it'll be available on replay straight away after the session is closed. And we do think that there's going to be a lot of value for everybody going through today's session.
Cool.
So
I think a good place. I think a good place to start then, Thomas, is that you and I are very different traders, and so we're going to approach this from two sides of the tracks effectively, and I think it will cover a lot of different trading styles that we're going to have in the room. I run various different strategies, and I think diversification in strategy is really key. So I think probably a good place to start is watch lists and also split screen. So do you want me to start quickly with what I see, and then you can take the screen, or do you want to start? I don't mind.
Yeah, I know. I think that'd be perfect. If you want to start, show us your watch list stuff, and then I'll bring in some of again, it's a little bit different trading style and way of looking at things would be good.
Cool. So I mean, I look at multi-asset, and there's various different strategies, but let's what I think is really good is the ability to organize my life and my head and everything like that. So, obviously we offer a significant amount of currency pairs at Pepperstone. And what you can do is you can get the list and you can copy watch lists from other people by importing. Effectively you could reach out to one of the guys at Pepperstone or your friend if they've got a TradingView account and get them to send over the list. That would come through as a text file, then you can just import that in there. But effectively what I've done here is I've got all my currency pairs. I'll come in the morning, and the first thing I'm looking for is the biggest move. I love range expansion. I love to see what's the biggest one moving, and that's going to immediately draw me in. I've got the great thing here is there's a lot of products that Pepperstone don't offer, but have very significant relationships with currency markets. For example, if I'm looking at the yield spread that we see in the German treasury market, German government bond market relative to that of the US, and if I was to overlap this now against euro dollar, for example. Just bear me a second. You can see that there is a relationship between this yield advantage, this differential that's going on in the bond market, and euro dollar. And you can see that and that makes sense for me as a macro guy. It's really about where capital needs to be flowing. The better yield that you have in the bond market, the more attractive it is. And you can see there that I can organize this now, whereas you couldn't perhaps do this on other platforms because we didn't have for those products. So you can now see that there's a lot of markets that I would look at for statistical relationships. What is effectively driving the currency market, and I can set this up with a lot of various bond markets. I can do long short strategies. So effectively, what I've got here is I'm looking for the outperformance of the XLE, which is the energy sector, relative to the SPY, which is an ETF that Pepperstone offer. And you can see here, let me just remove this. Now I've put this as a ratio because I like to trade long short pairs trades. And if you put them together as a ratio, you can see the outperformance. So you can see here that as this is going up, the XLE is outperforming, the energy sector is outperforming the broader index, the S&P or SPY ETF. And so I'd be in the situation, I'd be looking as this starts to trend up and moves explosively to the upside, being long the XLE and being short the SPY as a pairs trade is really well. So you can see that right now on things like the DAX versus the FTSE, for example. You can see that the numerator, which is the DAX, has been underperforming, and that's been a really beautiful trend. So being short the DAX, being long the FTSE as a pairs trade, netting off that exposure works really well. So I think you can do some really cool stuff with your watch lists. We've got market internals that you can get here, where I'll look at something like the number of companies above their what we got here, 50-day moving average. So we've got 44% of companies above that at the moment. And it tells me a lot about semantics. And you can use this as well to work out when there's too much pessimism being priced in. You can see here that only 20% of stocks were above their 50-day moving average. And, that's where we saw the market rebound. So it's a good sentiment indicator. So there's good market internals. I also like to look at rates probability. So, what's being priced into the Fed funds market. So there's a big macro argument that there's a lot being priced into interest rates at the moment. And so I can show you the equation here, but effectively I've got, all the different Fed funds contracts which I've added together, and I can see here that for the March meeting, which is coming up, we've got 24.5 basis points being priced in the equation that I would use for that is simply that, and 24.5 basis points if we think that they raise in 25 increments. We've got 4 rate hikes being priced in. So I can look at that. So I'm really, I've got bonds, I've got my whole suite of commodities. I break that down into our ETF universe, rates, markets, equities, volatility indicators. It's pretty much got everything that I need to get my mind right and get a really clear picture about the markets there. So that's cool. What about you, Thomas?
Yeah, so I'll switch over screens now, Chris, and I'll show you some of the ways I look at things. I just thought I'd answer a couple of questions while we go as well. Benson asked the question, I trade a break out of London. How do I set up sessions? Don't worry, we've got that one coming a little bit later.
Yeah,
I'll certainly bring that on. It's a great question, yeah, because it's a great time to be trading. London session, New York session, Asian session. If you can get involved in those types of markets, it's fantastic. And then there's some questions that hopefully some of the helpful members of the Pepperstone chat can answer. It's just a question about linking it up and getting access. So Chris has shown us some amazing stuff on the watch list. I think that stuff is great. I saw one that you put up a while ago, and I think it was ARK versus Warren Buffett's fund. And I love that. It's like value versus hyper growth. And you could see that they basically met where the performance was completely different over the 2021 area. But let's just break down some of the ways that maybe I employ on the chart. So I think Chris has got some great ideas for the watch list. But what can we do with the charts that's a little bit different? One of the things I love to do is I love to get involved in the settings. And this is where the platform, I think, really excels over some other platforms sometimes. And it's one of the reasons that I've liked it over the last couple of years. We can change the text size. A lot of people don't do this. So you can bring in here, what text size do you want for the price on the right-hand side? Underutilized, but really great. I like 28. That's one of my favorites. The other one I like to do is sometimes you see the watermark. And a lot of people don't access the watermark. And that basically then will put what you're trading in the back. So if you're taking a snapshot, and especially if you're trying to remember what you traded, I know I'm one of those people that likes to keep snapshots of my trades. It actually tells you what it is in the background. So that's quite handy. We can always change colors as well. You just right click on the screen, go color, light, dark. You can save, of course, your favorite types of setup. So whatever you might have, you can leave auto save on, you can save it now, and then of course keep all of your particular technical analysis on the chart. But I also like some of the things on the left-hand side here, which are some of the drawing tools, things like measurement. If I'm looking for maybe a move up, how much is that move in terms of percentage points up to that point? Measurement's really good. You're just left clicking and putting it on the chart. I love the long position, short position as well, Chris. This is something I do quite a lot of when I'm trying to figure out whether I want to take a trade, just in terms of ratios. You would know this. Most people, when you get to a larger fund balance, they don't really talk so much about necessarily dollar amount. It's all in percentages, yeah? It's all in how much risk, how much reward.
And I think that's really interesting as well, because I use this all the time. And the numbers, the account balance is, I think, sort of just arbitrary numbers. But what's important there is for the strategies that I run, if I'm doing a mean reversion strategy, I've got a very high win-loss ratio, but my risk reward generally is quite poor. Whereas I run a trend following system as well, and my win ratio is very, very poor. I'm looking for outliers, and I'm looking to just ride them up. So my win-loss ratio would be around about 40%, which is quite poor to a lot of people. But what's really important then is I'm going to look for something that's going to give me. I mean, you have no idea when you're going to get out the trade. But you are looking for that risk reward on some of these big momentum trades that we look at. You might only win 35-40% of the time. But when you're in the position, you need to be looking at that risk reward and getting 2.5, 3, 4 times the thing. And I think that's what really gives you the idea here. Is that risk reward it gives you real clarity about where you need to be aiming at a minimum.
Exactly. The clarity is key. So you can do like a long scenario, and you can do a short scenario and leave them on there. So just getting kind of an idea of where your stop loss needs to be. Maybe for this silver, potentially you might be looking at a double bottom style kind of concept. And then you go, well, is the risk reward worth it to the next resistance? Sometimes it's just making it more real, Chris. I found that sometimes over the years, people say, oh, I'm going to take this scalp, and they don't realize that they're putting a 50 pip stop loss, let's say, on a currency, but they're only taking 20 pips most of the time. You need a good, of course, successful system for that.
Yeah, sure.
Another kind of little top tips, I guess, that I like in this platform is things like, and this goes for probably support resistance traders, is a little bit about, drawing up boxes. And that's something that I think this platform excels at as well. Say this is like a resistance that you might want to set an alert for. You can always have a box up there, have like an area maybe between the resistance, like a supply demand style zone, if that's your type of trading. And then you can color that. So you can click on this, you can right click settings, and then bring up all of the different like colors. So if you want it to be a green or a blue or whatever color, it can be that. And I love being able to do these types of things. And these are just some of the reasons why I feel like the platform does quite well in these actions, being able to just customize some of the things you like. Obviously, horizontal lines are all here. And another little top tip is, let's say you're over on this side of the screen and you're looking at here, we've got silver, and you want to maybe bring it back to where you're currently sitting and get it kind of like formalized. You can just press Alt-R and it will bring it back. So that's a good way of, sometimes, you might be over here analyzing something in the past and you're thinking, I like that. And rather than having to go all the way back, if you just press Alt-R, it'll bring you back in. So there's some great hotkeys as well.
I think you can also double click on the numbers on the right hand side, the axis. So if you were to be further apart and double click on that, it should bring you back.
I'm not sure if it's this one that brings you back in,
Well,
but I don't know. I usually use Alt-R, but there are different ways of getting us to that level. The other one is, of course, changing all your candles and bars. You can do that up here. Little bar, candle, obviously Hikinashi if you like Hikinashi, daily, all these different time frames. You can add your own, which I quite like doing. I mean, for me, Chris, one of the things I like a lot in commodity space is actually the 8-hour chart. And I like the 8-hour chart. I find that to be quite effective with finding really great closures and movements of the day. A lot of people use 4-hour, 2-hour, daily. I like all of them, but the 8-hour is often underutilized. So it's a good one there as well.
Yeah. Good call. Am I able to just quickly share my screen on something?
Got it back over.
I think there's another one here that unfortunately you do need a certain account type. Obviously, TradingView don't make money from people's commissions and swaps and overnight funding charges like a broker would. For facilitating trades, they have a platform and therefore they will charge, but they do give a free trading platform. So if you're new and they do give you it's pretty generous in terms of what you get for a free charting package. But when you want to start getting into other areas, you will need to go into their pro package or the pro plus or the premium package. And we can, obviously you can go on the website and have a look at it, at what the benefits are for that. But what you can see here is I've got what I look at is a kind of macro view. So if we're trading over news and I want to see, for example, or looking at the reaction over news, and you might want to take positions once the market's settled down and had a bit of a chance to think about what's going on, is this multifunction situation. So we've got these different layouts that we can have, and you will need a higher account than a pro account. Than a free account. You need to pay for a pro, which I think is about $13 a month. But you've got this multi-split screen here. So what I've done is I've called this one a US data-centric split screen. So I've just got the things that are really sensitive to US data. It could be a Fed meeting, it could be non-farm payrolls numbers. And these are things I look at. So dollar index, dollar yen, 2-year government bonds, 10-year government bonds, gold, and the US 500, the S&P effectively are equivalent of there. Now I can put in what I want, and I can actually go into more granularity. But I'm really looking. I can change this down into a much lower time frame. I can take this into a 5, like a 1 minute, for example, and that should change all of them by connecting all of these factors together. So now all my charts are going to shade to 1 minute. And you can see that there's been no change in that one. But now I'm looking very, very quickly at what's happening. I could change this to a tick by tick if it was actually over news, but I'm looking for the reaction. And what I'll do as well is I'll set up things like Bitcoin. I want to come in the morning and have a look at multi-charts. I could have a look at some of the other saved ones that I've got here. So I just look at it in specifics. So Aussie pairs, and I can save the layout there. And you can see Euro, Aussie. And I'm just really looking for the best setup that immediately comes to my eye. You can see Aussie dollar here on the 4 hour. It's just testing resistance at the moment. We had this nice pullback. Probably see if that's come down into any kind of support levels. Not really. I don't think that's any kind of. But you can see now that we're back into this level here, and if that kicks on, I think that could be a really cracking momentum trade. But I'm really just scanning the market now for opportunity, and this is what this split system does quite nicely as well. So I think it's just really, again, it's just getting your mind into gear. You're sourcing ideas, you're sourcing inspiration, and for me, this helps as well as having a good watch list, but also having these multi-split charts. I can just visualize what it's looking like there and then as well. So I think that looks good. Is that something that you do, Thomas, as well?
Yeah, so I definitely compare between a few different things. Sometimes you might have indices compared with each other. Might have maybe IWM, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and have them compared. You can do a whole bunch of different things. So yeah, I like to have that. And I've always, with currencies, always backed in, like let's say you're trading euro, pound, and all of those. I like to have that, or sometimes even all the time frames, like you're mentioning. So I like to have like Australian dollar daily, weekly, 4 hour, 8 hour, 2 hour, put them all on the screen. It's really excellent.
Yeah, good stuff. So I think probably the next one is the community itself. I mean, I think TradingView now has probably the biggest online trading community of any platform. People going into ideas. So did you want to showcase that, or Thomas, or do you want me to do it with my platform open?
I'll let you take that one away, and then I'll get into some indicators a little bit later on this.
Perfect. Sounds good, mate. Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So if I go into the home section, there might be another way to do it, but this is the way I've always done it. And really, if you go into community, you can see any traders that have followed, editors picks, which you'll see a couple of my ideas in there, chart analysis, trade ideas. And for this one, I'll probably start off with trade ideas. Let's go to trade ideas. And you can see that there's just all these different charts, videos, and just loads of people who have just come out with some interesting bits and pieces that you can see here. And usually they're pretty snappy, to the point. You can rate them, do what you need to do, but there's a whole community of people who have been putting trade ideas, trade setups, and again, it's just a little bit like Twitter. You want to go and follow what's been going on. People are writing scripts, which we can talk about in a moment. We do live streams, so people actually will. There's one that I did earlier.
There you are.
But yeah, people will talk in video format about what's going on in the world, and that might be some way that you want to consume. But I think in terms of these video chart analysis, there's just a whole community of people pumping out ideas in forex, indices, and all the different asset class they want. They've got trading education, so you can post your own ideas if you want to be part of the community, or you can absorb everyone else's as well there as well. So that's a really big situation. The other thing that you can do is you can go into these scanner functions that you can have here. And so I'm scanning here. The thing I like to do is I want to, as part of a momentum strategy, I want to find out what's strong, and I want to find out what's weak. And I like to buy what's strong, and I like to sell what's weak. Sounds simplistic, but really, a body in motion stays in motion, and I'm really looking for the strongest here. So immediately I look down, and I can see, if I just click on that one, I can see that the Aussie yen's been working out. You can see the Aussie crosses are all, over the last 5 days, really strong here on this scanner. And I can look at the performance, and I can come in, and I'm trying to understand where the movement, where the capital has been flowing just by pure price moves. You can do other situations as well. You can have a look at oscillators, and they've got these oscillator ratings based on the ADX and MACDs and various factors. I can do that for different asset classes as well. I can do that for trend following. So again, you're just looking at where how price is in relation to these moving averages and where it is into the Bollinger Bands. But I'm trying to source inspiration for my trades. Aussie CAD's one that I quite like. We can maybe go over that idea. But you can see they've got a buy rating just on these trend following indicators. So for people who are liking, you just want movement, and the CFD traders, we are effectively trading different types of movement. I like to come into this scanner, and you can change that onto crypto and also to stocks, and just scan the market for things that are seeing genuine underlying movement, and that can form your ideas as well. So when you're looking for inspiration, the scanner's a really good functionality, but also the actual community itself. There's so many ideas that you can get lost, and it's really good idea. You can learn a lot from these people as well. So great little community there. So I find that very useful. I certainly find the scanner tool function quite useful as well. So that's great. I think let's go to some of the indicators you look at, Thomas, and how that can give you an edge within the platform.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. So look, just on the community, I also post on the community, and I do think over the years it's gotten better and better and better. And obviously some of the best ones get to that top, and you start to see those in the editors picks and all of those other really great areas. So there's a lot of excellent information. If you're beginning or even intermediate, you can always learn something new about anyone's opinion, obviously then bring that into your system. So let's discuss some of the key, I guess you would say, indicators that we like to add to the charts. So one of those is, of course, going to be what we always add, which is moving averages. I mean, of course, we love moving averages. We're a big fan of using them. And when you want to add moving averages, you type it into the indicator up here, and you get kind of a few different ones coming up. You obviously get moving average, which will be a simple moving average. You get weighted moving averages, and you can get also exponential. Now, you'll know that I like the 20 exponential moving average, the 50 exponential moving average, and the 200 simple moving average. And when you add them to the charts, it comes up, and obviously it's going to come up as a line. You go to settings, so right click on that again, and you'll be able to select the size. You'll be able to select the style of color that you want, and of course, whether it's based on maybe a close or not. So I really like, you can even select the size in terms of how large the line's going to be, whether it's really, really thick or whether you want it to be a little bit thinner. So again, flexibility, max customization, that's one of the things you get here with the moving averages. Chris used something before, which was obviously, I think he was using a fib before, Fibonacci. So you can select that from just up here, Fibonacci retracement. Obviously you get the pitchfork, you get fans, you get Gann if you want to use that. And fib channels and everything is all here. We all like fibs. And when you're drawing a fib, I'll just quickly tell you this. Generally, I like to draw them from wick to wick. Some people go body to body. But when I draw it, you left click here, and then you grab it, and then you bring it up. Sometimes I see people draw Fibonacci a little bit wrong. This is the idea of getting, of course, the retracement. So when you're looking at maybe a pullback, let's say on this particular pair, you might be looking for it to pull back into a range. And that range might be between the 38.2 and the 23.6. You've got some moving averages here, and maybe you're targeting in that zone. So just always remember, left to right is how you grab this particular indicator. Now, we got a question before, which I thought was fantastic, and that was about sessions. So they might like to trade London session, Asian session, New York. Well, luckily, there's a lot of custom indicators here that people make, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. You can find whichever one you like. I don't mind this one here. So you can actually select sessions, Asia, New York, and of course, London. And if we go into something like a 15-minute or 5-minute chart, what it does, it colors them up. And the way that a lot of people approach, let's say, breakout strategies is they might have a idea of taking the high from this blue session here, which is the Asian session. They take the low of that session. And then as the London session opens up here, which is the green area, they take the breakout. So they might have a breakout based strategy. Obviously, in this case, it would be looking to short this particular pair during that time. And then you get that kind of yellow period here where it's a mixture of the New York open and of course the London session still open, and the red is the back of New York. So it's quite fantastic to be able to have this on your charts. And it's as easy as just adding that sessions and the one we used before.
I think as well, Thomas, just to add color on this point as well. When we look at the sessions, what you'll also see and what you want to have a look at is just the sort of ranges that you see within these sessions. On average, you're going to see a bigger range in US trade. Asia is generally quite reactionary. And that really depends on the cross that you're looking at, or the currency pair, or the market that you're looking at. But generally speaking, you will see bigger ranges taking place in that late European into US trade. So that sort of that crossover section is where you tend to see typically the biggest range. And a lot of that's down to the fact that most of this big tier one data, the big market moving data, takes place there as well. But obviously you've got the big liquidity and the desks coming in the UK at that time. So I think for your strategy, if you like range expansion, if you like movement in that time frame, then they're the sessions which we typically see trade. Obviously, if you're running an EA, if you're running an expert advisor or an algo, you can trade 24 hours a day. But as a non discretion as a discretionary trader, you've got to choose which session. You can't trade 24 hours a day. It will kill you. So that's when I think you're looking at this strategy sessions and looking at the kind of ranges and saying, what is my trading style? Do I like small ranges, more reactionary sessions, in which case Asia might be more beneficial, or do you like those big range expansion sessions, which is why we see a lot of people looking to trade US trades. So I think that look at the behavior, look at the range expansion, look at the characteristics of movement, and that I think that that split can really help you out there.
Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, the New York session and that London combo, you can just see it here in the volume. And obviously, if you ever want to add volume, just go indicators, add the volume. This is the standard volume here, and it will show you the broker's volume generally.
You
so
could
that will
probably put
become
the
down later.
you could probably put the ATR on that, couldn't you? And that might be quite useful.
Yeah, you certainly could. So if you wanted to add like an ATR onto it, you could do that, and you could add whichever one. Have you got a favorite that you like here, or?
No, I've just used average true range. I can't remember who actually designed it, but I think they'll pretty much do the same thing.
You just had this one? Yep.
Yeah.
So this one here, and you can see a little bit of that pickup that occurs through the indicator. So another one that's really great there. I know you're going to probably mention a little bit about ATR and some of the others. I'll add here just some of the ones that I found have been maybe good in terms of if you got used to a certain way. So a lot of people use MACD. And if you add MACD here, it's going to look a little bit different to what you might be used to if you're coming from some other platforms. It might look like this. And of course, you've got the ribboning effect, which is a little bit different to maybe like an MT4. The one thing that you can do is you can actually type MT4 in and you'll get a MT4 MACD. And then you'll see what you may be traditionally used to. And I particularly like this type of MACD for when you're looking for divergences. So if you're looking for like some kind of class A, class B, this particular MACD is fantastic for that. So it's really, really good, especially when you have maybe like a channel and you're looking at maybe selling off here and you might have a series of decreasing kind of humps here on the MACD. It can show you that there's that weakness actually from the MACD, and therefore giving you that idea or signal that you might be wanting to short. So MT4, and then you can just type that in and it will come up with MT4 MACD. Just a little bit of a hint if you've been used to that one and you've traded it for quite some time. Some other indicators, sorry, Chris. I'm so used to doing it with Ty. Volume profile is another one that people love. They love this thing. And that is that you add volume profile. Now, I think you mentioned to me today that this may be something that's part of only if you're a pro or above. Is that correct?
I believe that's the case. Yeah. I think you've got to pay $13 for market profile. It's a great indicator. I mean, there's so many people who are now using it on you see people doing both volume profile, but also time price opportunity. So the TPO charts as well. I'm not sure how they go with TPO, but it seems like everyone's using it now as a kind of map for, supply and demand and how sort of price is reacting as a roadmap, right? So it's something you guys use?
Yeah, look, I've used it. I guess once you get used to the markets and you've done it so much, and maybe you've done what we call naked chart trading, you don't necessarily need it, because really what's going to happen is what's happening here. You've got a point of multiple touches in the past. There's going to be a ton of trade that's gone through here. Of course, you're going to have your largest trades and volume profile sitting at this point. And then once you understand the dynamics of support resistance, really what we're looking for here is we're saying, okay, well, if it does bounce off this level, which we expect to be a very heavy range, and then moves up, where's the next logical conclusion for it? And this would be kind of saying, well, it's fairly thin through to maybe this level, or even thin through to this level here. And what I actually like is I don't prefer to use this one, which we've got on. The one that most people like to use is when they type in volume profile and they get fixed range. And then you select fixed range and you go, let's say, more recent price maybe. So we might want to go from here to here. And you put that in. And what this will do is it will actually give you a volume profile that's based on that range. So you probably can't see it that well, but it is based on that range. And we need to remove this one. So yeah, that's what most people are tending to use now. They're using this one, and then they're extrapolating that out to the more recent price to give them a bit of an idea of what's happened on that section of the chart. So the more recent section rather than in the past itself.
Yeah, good stuff. I see so many people using it now, and I think it's quite interesting. I mean, TPO is different in that sense. So yeah, I think it's not just about where the point of control is, but like you say, you can probably point to where the point of control is going to be just from price action alone. But it's also, most importantly, is if you're trading in direction of very thin areas, that can give you real conviction that it can continue just breezing through that level and great for, like, to holding on to those positions, right?
That's the best bit about it, because it gives people the conviction that they're in a participation phase because they can see it visually. And once you've traded for long enough, you know it's there because you can see
Yeah,
that
right.
free gap. It's like the free space, the green sky above, as I call it, even though and then everyone yells at me and says the sky can't be green. But yeah, I
But
mean,
it's just
realistically, that's what you look at.
but if you're also one of those, if a trader who's really struggles to hold on to winning trades,
Yeah.
and you're seeing an area of low participation, and you're saying, would you not change your psychology around, instead of one with just going, you know what, I'm just going to take the profit because I don't want to surrender a profit, to actually one where you're saying to yourself, I've got higher conviction to hold through this period. So perhaps it can really help you with holding on to those winning trades for a little bit longer as well.
It really would, and it would help so many trades out there. I think in currency, especially, which so many people out there do, it's sometimes hard to hold a position, especially through a swing, because sometimes
Mm,
people just come from that scalping mindset, and they're not
yeah.
prepared to hold through that big trend. But as we know, when central bank policies move, and you get that movement in interest rates, or you get that movement in monetary policy, it can be a sustained run that can go for weeks, if not months. And if you can get just a few days worth of that, because you see this volume profile showing you that there's a lack of kind of trade in between there, and that you see that next level of resistance or support,
Mm.
you feel the confidence. Yeah, I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
that's right.
So
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
good stuff. I
favorite
mean,
there.
I think as well, there's so many weird and wonderful indicators. Like the great thing about MT4 is that you've got this supermarket of people who are just supplying indicators, and you can build your own as well. But it's kind of like, if you can dream something up, you can create it, and then you can download it onto the MetaTrader platform. Something similar is like that on TradingView. Just people create their own indicators on Pine Editor, which we can talk about in a second.
Mhm.
And they'll share that as part of the community. So that's a great thing, is that you've just got this whole library of anything and everything that people have made up, whether it's to do with classic oscillators, or people who are coming out with just incredible templates for the market. So yeah, again, it's similar in that sense as MT4, that the range of indicators that you can get are limitless effectively, and there's just way too much. So for me, I still like to keep things pretty simple. Use basic indicators, which we can show a couple of examples of a few trades in a second. But
Mhm.
the great thing here is that you can get lost, and there's so many weird and wonderful and imaginative indicators and things that you can use, that you're one of the concerns that you'll have is actually how do you make money out of all of these different things. And again, you probably end up coming back to this to the same thing of trying to keep it simple at the end of the day.
I was going to say, I think almost everybody goes through that journey, don't they, Chris? It's like the journey of, and I've done that. I've used the zigzag. I've gone through the alligator. I've gone through the guard. I've gone through the bell curves and everything. And what was it? Dot points and Heikenhashi and everything. So yeah, you go through all this weird and wonderful journey, and then sometimes you bring it back. So I've switched over to your screen. You've got some indicators that are very commonly used here. Do you want to go through some of your favorites?
I mean, for me, I think what you've got to do, you always start off with the strategy. So am I running a momentum strategy? Am I running a mean reversion strategy? Am I running a trend following strategy, more tactical? What is it I'm doing? And then obviously the indicators help you with those strategies. Obviously you're taking it down into time frame, scalp, swing, position, and day trade effectively. But so for me, it's like one of the strategies I'm looking at the moment is a momentum strategy. I like this one. I like this idea that I've got at the moment with Aussie CAD. I picked up Aussie CAD on the scanner, so that immediately, when I saw the strength in that came to mind. I want to buy strong, right? So what is one of the best indicators that I like for momentum? It's rate of change. I can see that the rate of change is high. I would also use I could use an RSI, for example, and I've gone through all the different indicators I like, and I favorite them. So again, I'm just going to bung that down. I don't really need it. I'm going to just change the setting to a little bit shorter. Let's change it to a 9. But you can see that the RSI here is going up. That's good. I like the RSI to be going up. Obviously, you don't want it to be 100 or anything like that, but you can see that the RSI is going up. The rate of change is all going up. That's great to see. I'm just going to just lower those a little bit now. Let's get rid of the RSI. It's just confirmation. I can see that this is now broken out of this pattern. We've got this ceiling that's been in place here. We've got this strong candle into the resistant level, and we've now taken it through there. The momentum indicators I'm looking for are all working well. What I would do now is I'm just going to use a Bollinger Band, really. And I'm just using it on the basic, two standard deviations above the 20-day moving average. And you can see that after this period of consolidation where price has been moving sideways, the band has traded lower. And now what we're seeing is that where it's in relation to the band is at the upper band. Great to see. What I'm looking for now is that the Bollinger Bands start widening out. And what you're seeing when this starts trending, I'm not saying it's going to, but I want to catch this now. And so I want to take long positions in Aussie CAD. I like what I'm seeing here. The momentum indicators are going to the side. It's broken out. We like this. Now, it may be a failed breakout, so it's aggressive buying now, but I'm going to buy. And what I want to see now is that these bands widen. And what I also want to see is that price will now hold these really short-term moving average, the EMA. So I'm going to put a 5-day on there because it's a bit shorter term. And I'm just going to close this 9-period one down. And you can see that the price at the moment is now holding this 5-day exponential moving average. So if this is going to start going and make higher highs, I'm in the trade. Now, if it closes below the 5-day, I'm out of the trade, and I'll get lots of small losses as a result of this. But when it goes, I'm just going to keep holding that. Those bands are going to widen. You're going to see Aussie CAD hold that upper band there, and it's difficult because this is going to be a swing position because it's going off daily charts. But you could take the time frame down. So I like this at the moment. It's aggressive now, but it's starting to show me that as long as price holds this 5-day, all momentum in oscillators are there, and you should see those bands widen. Price should hold the upper band, and as long as price continues to gravitate, it might trade down into the 5-day, but the buyers will step in. And what we want to do is we want to get out when it closes, has a daily close below that 5-day. So this is a great one for me now. It goes just coming to the point. If you're using mean reversion strategies, then you want to look at oscillators and indicators in a different way than you would do for a momentum strategy. If I'm trading off a trend following strategy, for example, and this is the great thing about having some of these agricultural commodities, something that's been trending beautifully has been soy meal, and you might want to go and use the Donchian channel. This looks, I'm looking at a 20-day look back here. So when price closes above the 20-day, that's obviously a very powerful force. You can use a Bollinger Band exactly in the same way. But you can see now when price closes above the 20-day look back period, that's usually a good sign that this is ready to trend. And what you can also do to harness this is use a trailing stop loss, using an ATR trailing stop loss. So I've got a 50-period using a 2x ATR, and I'm just using to trail my stop loss up there. So as a trend following system, I'm using a trailing stop loss, but I want to get into positions when it breaks a previous high as well. So again, your indicators that you're using are defined by the strategy that you're employing, and the way that you do it is around that. So I think that's really important. But again, I'll just use very basic indicators, the sort of textbook ones, but it's the strategy that you need to get right in that situation. What do you think about that, Thomas?
Yeah, I think, well, having the indicators for the right strategy is very important. I mean, you don't want to be using MACD divergence and the things trending off into the sun. That's not ideal. So, yeah, I like that. I mean, I'm obviously a bit more of a price action based trader in terms of the way I look at things is always, what have we got going on with the left-hand side? What have we got going on with the actual candles? What are they telling us about price as well? And I tend to be a bit more of, I guess you would call a naked trader from that point of view. That's just my style. But the great thing is we have all these different styles. So, yeah, I like very much using that type of plan that you had there. You also noticed when you got that breakout, what you were seeing with that the odd CAD there, I think it was you also seeing what we call as a bit of a lightning bolt. So you had that kind of trough, that peak, and the market had just closed to a new high. So it had a little bit of a pullback, and then it had gone through and it had closed to a new high. So you're really looking for that explosive move. And what all the indicators were telling you there was the explosion looks to be coming, and the price action is telling you the same thing. We've tested the lows, we've tested a peak, we've looked towards the sellers getting control of the market. They've failed to do so. And then, of course, now we're in the point where we are now.
Would you use an ATR there? So if you just remove the diagram, but if you have a situation when, I mean, obviously you guys are experts in educating people on buying and trading breakouts, which is probably one of the hardest things that retail traders get wrong,
Yes.
And for me, one of the things what I like to do is when you're trading the breakout is you bring the ATR up and you look for that range expansion to go through. So it's it's the science behind the break and what that break looks like. So I like to use an ATR, and if the range picks up through there, that's usually a good sign as well. Is that something that you guys look at?
Look, I will use it. I think, like a lot of indicators, you kind of, once you've seen the scenario like 100, 200, 300 times, it kind of always does the same thing based on the price action. So because the indicators are showing you that, they're kind of showing you what's going on. One of my favorite things is when you first start is to have those types of things on there, the ATR, those other indicators. And what I like to also think about is when the price action is here, let's say we had a resistance, a peak here, and it was a rejection-y looking kind of pin bar candle, just say like this one here. And then we break to a new peak. What that's really also telling us, Chris, is it's telling us like our stop loss, the stop losses for the shorters are probably getting squeezed here. And what a lot of retail traders, I believe, why they fail on the breakout strategy so often is because they don't read the price action. And maybe they therefore should be using some of those indicators that are saying when that break comes through, actually, it's a lot better than you think. And sometimes when the break happens, as you mentioned, it's not as good as you think. And a lot of the time, the clue is in the left-hand side for us, but the clue can also be there in the indicator.
Cool. I think just before we take questions, I'm not sure if you're an expert in this, but one of the things that we need to cater for is the idea there's people out there who run automated trading systems, and also want to back test there as well. So you're looking to, even if you're running a semi-discretionary, semi-automated, there is a function here to be able to do strategy testing and also code up your own indicators and strategies as well. I know you're not an expert in this field, but you just want to walk through that for people who are watching this who might be automated and want to see how this platform can progress.
Yeah, sure. So basically we've got down here, you've got like all of your different kind of options. And we were talking before about stock screener. I've lost it. You've also have strategy testers. Now, the way I approach this is different to others, but you've got basically a Pine editor, and in here you could do a code and put in whatever your strategy was. We have a question coming in, and that says from Quietly Wandering, says, can you can you overlay two indicators over each other? I have stochastic and MACD overlaid on the same window. So I'm sure you could do that. But one that I've seen that's a little bit sneaky that people do is they actually overlay their moving averages and they put them all in one indicator. And a few people have shared that. And it gives them basically, it's one indicator and it's all of those together. But yeah, you can add your Pine, or you can add your code in here, and then obviously you can test it through this platform. You can also grab other people's and test it as well. My favorite thing to do is to replay. So I actually like to go back and replay and play out a strategy. So you can press play here now, and you can select the speed. And what it will do is it will actually draw the candles as they're going. And I find this an amazing tool for you to then pause it and say, okay, what would I do in this situation? What would be my next step in terms of my trade? Would I usually buy that? Would I usually sell that? And it's a way of you getting through some high quality analysis on your favorite currency, your favorite index, where you can go back years and just, it's kind of like chess. People practice the same move over and over and over again, don't they, Chris, to get good at the London opening. That's what I think you're really doing here. You can replay that and then, test it. And I think this is a little bit unique in some ways to what MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 have been amazing at doing, which is really supporting that expert advisor audience. You can do it here with less code experience as well.
Well, I think the strategy tester in MetaTrader is still fantastic, whether you're discretionary and you're just looking to actually use past data to actually simulate a trading example. I think that's still really, really good. And then you can automate that strategy if you want. So that's still really very useful. The Pine editor, I've started trying to develop my own indicators. You do need some coding experience there. There's a whole heap of people out there you can go and tap up and they'll build an indicator for you for very little amounts of money. Or you can get, like you rightly say, you can go into the community. You can see people who have sent scripts out, and you can use their logic and you can tweak it yourself. And then you can just deploy it as an automated trading strategy if you want to. But I still think that within MT4, the strategy tester is something that a lot of clients find a lot of utility out of in trying to understand the edge of their system. So that's really good.
Yeah, so we've got the replay tool, which is playing through right now. And then we've got the ability to grab other people's scripts. run them, possibly look even. A lot of the people have open code, so you can kind of just do some basic editing there, Chris, and maybe it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I like it. I don't use it a huge amount, but I know that there's a huge community here on TradingView for it. So that's really great as well.
There's some great literature. I mean, I tried learning it over the weekend. The problem is I've got the 3 kids, and when you start getting into a bit of vibe and understanding what's going on, Dad, can you get me a glass of water? It's like, oh, Jesus. So you really need to to sit down. But honestly, the guide that they've got on TradingView to help you understand the syntax and all the factors within coding, it's a brilliant resource. And if you've got a basic understanding of coding, you should pick it up pretty quickly. Go to YouTube. There's a whole heap of videos for people who claim to be able to teach you how to get a good idea in an hour. So yeah, I think if you're prepared to put the time in and you want to create your own indicators and own strategies and then automate them, I think it's fairly straightforward as a coding vehicle.
It is fairly straightforward. It's actually easier than the other ones because of the resources you get. I'll bring up some little top tips that I think a lot of people don't know, and I just love these. So we'll finish with this before we take some questions. If I press down Alt-A, it actually brings up the ability for me to create an alert. So here's an alert for the US 500, S&P 500. I can select all of these things, set a time, set everything. But if you click this little more actions, you can also send email to SMS. I love that. Play sound, so much notification, notify, pop up. Maybe you're sneakily sitting there during the day, Chris, and all of a sudden you get this pop up on your screen. It's time to trade because it's gone to the zone. Well, you can do all these types of things. You can have a little chime in the background, turn off the webcam on Zoom and get in. But I love the send email to SMS. I find that to be one of the more, I guess, handy things. And once you add that, you can actually have all your alerts just here on the right-hand side. So you can have all of those sitting there, what you want to have out of it. And I like that. And being able to color everything as well is really handy just for, I guess, different to other platforms.
Yeah, great. So it's just really helpful as a trader to be able to get all this sort of stuff. And if you've got a system, if you've got a platform, obviously if it goes down to price in your case, I mean, all platforms nowadays do offer alerts, but I think it's fundamental that you're not just watching the whole time. You need to be able to be jump into gear the moment that you need to attack the price and start trading it, right?
Yeah, I think being able to jump in so quickly is good there. Another little question I guess we had coming through was just about being able to, I think it was something to do with being able to, it was the creating multiple indicators on top of each other. It's a good question, and maybe I'll try to answer that next webinar that we do, because I'll go in and have a look how hard that actually is to get done. So watch in the next 2 weeks, we'll be doing the webinars that we do here on YouTube, and I'll definitely try to answer that question for you if you watch it. So I'll remember that one.
Cool. Have we got more questions?
There's not too many, but if people do have questions, put them through now. And also, if you've been enjoying some of the top tips that Chris is bringing you, and obviously I'm bringing you here as well, please remember to smash that like button. It does help us out and also helps Pepperstone know that you enjoy this content. We could do a more in-depth one, maybe on one of the things that you like, possibly in the future, maybe on some Pine Editor strategy testing stuff. We'll see whether that's something that's popular there.
Yeah, I've got another trade idea that's come onto the radar. If you want to bring that up,
I'll bring you over. Here you go.
So this is I'm going to just remove this, just the ATR stop. But gold's been very much one that's been on the radar, and I'll just get rid of all that stuff. So I was looking at this the other day, and people are saying, oh, we've seen bond yields moving higher, and that should be bad for gold. But I just love this setup in XAU USD, and we just got this broadening megaphone, and
like
yeah, exactly. So I just love these formations, where you get this rounded bottom, price consolidates potentially. If we break through the downtrend at 1845. On a closing basis, and certainly through these highs of 1850, I think gold's about to start a new bull market in dollar terms there. I know that's on a weekly chart, but you look at the weekly chart for that overall rhythm feel and the setup, and then you sort of trade within that. But what we then look at is gold within, in the weakest currency. You want to be long of gold in the weakest currency, and that weakest currency has been the Japanese yen. But so I looked at the what we're looking at on a daily time frame. And you can see, again, this is another one of those breakout trades. So you've just got this ceiling that's come through around these levels at the moment. So we offer the gold in multiple different currencies. And say you want to buy gold in the weakest currency, you can see here that we've also got this beautiful setup. So we haven't complete there. But again, we come back to my sort of momentum indicators. We've got the rate of change moving higher. The RSI would definitely be above 50. We're pushing the top Bollinger Band. The whip has started to rise there. So if I add in just the Bollinger Band, you can see that we've been consolidating. Those bands are narrow. I really like that. And obviously that's just a reflection that we've just been moving in this tight range for the last couple of months. But if this breaks out, very, very powerful indeed. And that's when I'll be looking at long positions in that sort of momentum breakout strategy that we're looking at. So again, price would be holding the 5-day exponential, which is trending higher. So we're waiting for the close above. This is on the radar, whereas Aussie CAD I'd actually trade now. Gold in Japanese yen terms, I think it needs to show me some love, and then when the position comes to me, then I'll trade it. I'll let the market force me into a position. We're not there yet, but I think this needs to be on everyone's radar as well. So it's not just about gold in US dollar terms, which of course we see 90% of the flow in. But gold in the weakest currency right now seems to be the Japanese yen, and I think if we get a close about that, those bands start widening. I think this is one that I would be looking to go along for the ride as well. I think that should do quite well. But gold's looking quite interesting here. Yeah, we've got CPI numbers this week, and that's going to dictate stuff. But yeah, this is another one that I like, and you're just using some of these sort of different indicators within the TradingView platform. But again, I got this because just being able to scour through my watch lists and setting up multiple charts as well, I think it just really helps you conceptualize the trade.
We have a question here about fib extensions. I'll show them that now, Chris. But I've got to really reiterate to everybody how important it is with that gold trade. And what Chris is saying, gold in the weakest currency, such an important idea. Most people do not begin with that and don't use that kind of strategy. They don't consider which is the strongest, which is the weakest. And you can make the difference between a 20 or 30% difference when you pick the right one, the right cross.
You sound a bit like Dennis Gartman, don't you, when you start talking about assets in foreign currencies and bits and pieces. But you're getting double bubble, aren't you? You're making a play on gold and the currency, and then you can effectively, I mean, you can do it on any asset. You can go and buy the Dow and then change that dollar exposure into yen exposure if you want, even if we don't offer that as an actual market. But that's exactly what you want to neutralize the currency. If you're worried about holding an asset in dollar terms, then you can hedge that exposure into another currency and work it well as well. I mean, it's a bit more advanced, but yeah, absolutely, that's another way you can trade these things.
So we have a question about the fib extension and also an answer about just adding the indicator to an indicator. I must admit, it's not something I like doing because I feel like it kind of blurs the indicators and you don't end up getting what I like, but it's up to you how you like it. The big thing here is the fib extension. So you just use the standard fib and you draw it the other way. So basically it already has the extension in it. Obviously you're going here from the peak, the highest wick to the bottom. You're extrapolating that out. It gives you that 1618, 2618, 3618, etc. So you've got all of that there. It's just in this standard Fibonacci. Now the answer to adding the indicators is basically you just add the indicator. So let's call it, I don't know, stochastic. And then you can, so when we do that, you can pretty much just add it. It sounds like over here. Just add indicator or strategy, I think it is. Says here you can easily add overlay 2 existing indicators over each other. Just click the 3 dots on the right. And I don't think I have that in here. But basically, yes, very simple to do it. You can quickly search that if you like to. Not something I like to do, but some people prefer it because if you have all of the indicators stacked on each other, it means that, you know what I really hate, Chris? When you have so many indicators and then it ends up that your viewable screen is like this. The actual price action is like that. I hate that so much.
If you double click on the actual main body of the screen and then it will get rid of all the indicators. They'll still be there if you double click. They'll come back again, but then you get a full complete chart. The other thing as well, which I think is really important, is the ability to save things as favorites. So if you search for stochastic, there's a little star to the left that you can click on, and that will then save it as yours. So you've given it to me. Thank you for that. So yeah, these are all my favorites. But let's go and say, I don't know, ATR. Well, you can see that I've already saved it. But let's say I want to use ATR trailing stop loss there, and you can see I've got this little star button. I'll click that, and then that will come through into favorites. So I've just got all these things that I like to use. TD sequential is quite good for looking at price exhaustion, market profile of TPOs, the stuff that we talked about there, counter channels, all stuff that I'm using for breakout systems effectively. You can do that as well on these indicators. You may have mentioned this earlier, so apologies going over trodden ground, but you're just trying to make your life easy as a trader, right? So you're going through there, you can see the trend-based fib extension. I've clicked that as a one that I like, and you can see this little star button at the bottom left. And if I click that, now all the things that I save as my favorites, it's just come up here. So if I want to come out with a circle and just do that, I can just do that. I can do my profit targets. Oh, that's the fib one. If I want to take a long position there, I can just mess around with all this stuff and so it just saves me time. I've got all the stuff that I like to look at. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like to look at, so I just put it in my favorites there as well. So that just really helps you out, save you time, and get your mind set as a trader, and have the stuff that you're interested in.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that probably brings us to the back end of the questions here, Chris. And look, I think gold is going to be one of those exciting metals that's been sitting for some time now. And boring, you can see it in the silver. It's been boring. It's been really boring. And a lot of people were kind of thinking, and myself included, I felt like November, December was going to be a bit of a pop. We got a small move up, and then it's languished since that point. But it's showing the signs on so many things that it's at resistance, it's ready. And if it does explode out, there's going to be some great resistance breaks and potentially some big moves there throughout the middle. So that'll be an exciting one over the next 2 weeks.
Gold's by far and away the most traded product that we have at Pepperstone, obviously in US dollar terms. But I think a lot of that's down to people trading it in an automated strategy. People like the fact that the spreads are really low and it's open 24 hours a day, great top of book liquidity. So there's no problem getting in and out. So that's arguably our most traded product. Followed closely by euro dollar, cable, and NAS 100 as well. So gold's always really important for us. So we always look at what's going on, and I think people have been very prevalent at trading it despite the lack of movement, the lack of range, the lack of range expansion they've been seeing there. So it'd be good to see just a little bit more of a range and see how people react to that.
All right. Well, I think that probably brings us to an end. Thank you so much for joining us today. And obviously, if you want to find out any more information, you can always contact your helpful staff member, I guess, at Pepperstone, your helpful support member, and they will be able to help you throughout the journey of whether you want to use TradingView and set it up or not. And I hope that gold moves. I think Chris does as well. That would be fantastic. We'd love that one. And I'll join you probably in a week to 2 weeks, I think. And Chris is always putting out lots of content. Have you got anything you want to announce, Chris? Anything happening?
Oh, no, just, go onto the Pepperstone channel. If you are on TradingView, go and check us out. We're putting trade ideas out there. We're doing live streams. I know you obviously follow Tom as well, because I'm sure he does great ideas. But we've started pumping out the ideas, and these are ideas that I believe in. So obviously my reputation is important to me, so I want to get them right and try and make money for clients. So do follow us, and hopefully they give some good insights and comment on them and be part of the community, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And remember to smash that like button if you do enjoy it, and support Pepperstone as well for bringing this content to you for free. Catch you for now, and we'll see you next time.